Hello everyone. In prior recordings I discussed some of the things that I felt weren't being talked about enough when it came to 3rd generation Ryzen. Now I want to focus on preparing you for 3rd generation Ryzen. If you're already on 2nd generation platforms, you will have an easy time, as all it will take is a BIOS update. If you are building brand new, however, you're going to have a rough time. I'll do my best to mention the different steps you can take, but first, let me talk about why I'm even taking the time to talk about that. In this article and many others, you will find that it is saying that B450 and A520 motherboards will not be out until later in the year or at the end of the year. So that means if you're building for 3rd generation Ryzen now, you're going to have to use a 2nd generation motherboard, unfortunately. Let's now go ahead and discuss how you will accomplish that. Some motherboards have features that allow you to update it from the settings page or from a USB stick. If neither option is present, or if you are unable to make that happen, then your last resort is using an APU. APUs have basically a built-in video card with the CPU. This means that you can run a computer on an APU by itself. Out of the APUs that will work on 2nd generation motherboards right out of the box, the most common is the 2200G. There is Athlon and A8 APUs out there, but they aren't that common. If you're lucky enough to find the Athlon or A8 APUs, then they will come in at $50 to $80. The 2200G will come in between $90 to $105. So for a boot chip, essentially, it's not very cheap. If you're taking the APU route, then what you're going to do is you're going to install all the parts normally except for the video card. Do not install a video card until later time. With the APU in, you're going to install Windows and then update the BIOS. When you've completed those steps, then you're going to shut down the computer and completely power it off, either by turning off the power switch at the back or unplugging the cable to the power supply. When you have done that, you are going to remove the APU and stock cooler, then give it a good clean. You're going to want to use isopropyl alcohol, I think is the technical term for it. I only use 80%. Just get a paper towel, douse it with that, and rub off the thermal grease. That way the APU is nice and clean, so for when you put it in storage. When that is all completed, then you can finally install the CPU and video card that you want. Yeah, so it's not going to be fun for brand new builders. With that discussed, I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple of 2nd generation motherboard options. This is the same review I've linked in prior recordings. You can find similar reviews on these products very easily, but let's go ahead and go through them. If you're going to be running an X470 motherboard, I highly recommend the Aorus Ultra Gaming. It's going to be the lowest cost X470 while still being an all-around great board. If you're looking for a slightly more expensive option, you can get the Asus Prime X470 Pro. I don't think it's worth the money because the AOS Ultra Gaming does whatever you need it to, no problem. But that's X470. Let's look at B450. For B450, the options are a bit more limited, I think. I would say for people who are gaming, I would get an MSI B450 Tomahawk. This article explains why. If you're unable to get the Tomahawk, then I would say your other option would be this ASRock Steel Legend. Now, this is the only review I could find on the Steel Legend. So keep in mind that this is an unknown territory. It's a brand new motherboard lineup, so we have no idea how it will perform, truly anyways. Generally speaking, you want to find at least 2 to 3 reviews on a particular product before deciding it's good. Unfortunately, I can only find one. Now, the reason I am looking at the Steel Legend is because it comes in 2 models. One's the ATX and one's the Micro ATX. Micro ATXs are hard to come by, at least the ones that are good. So if this Steel Legend is actually good, then that's awesome because it opens up more build options. I'll explain more in just a minute with that. First, let me talk about the differences in motherboards. Generally speaking, you don't want to use B450s for anything beyond 6 cores. There are, of course, exceptions, but I'm not going to go through those exceptions. If you're doing 8 core or above, then you're going to want X470. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about cases. This is the Thermaltake Core V21. It's the cheapest cube case that you will find. It comes in at $60, brand new before shipping or sales tax. It happens to be very good at cooling, even more so than some of the more expensive mid-towers. That's why the ASRock Steel Legend Micro model is so interesting to me, because then it means I can do builds with this. Unfortunately, the Tomahawk and X470s are all ATXs, so that limits your options on the small case front. When it comes to smaller cases that can fit much larger motherboards, you're going to have to look at the Corsair Carbide Air 540 or one of the Rio Toro cases. Rio Toro is a brand I was just recently made aware of by another builder. I was able to find plenty of reviews on the Morpheus, which is this thing right here, and the CR1088. The CR1088 is a mini tower that can fit a full-size ATX. That's extremely rare to find. This case comes in at about $90 from what I've seen. The Morpheus up here comes in at about the Corsair Carbide cost. That is going to be about $140. A bit of a warning with the Morpheus though. From what I've learned on the reviews and from the other PC builders, this case comes in pieces, meaning you have to completely build this on your own. It isn't like the other cases which come pre-built out of the box. So be prepared for that. With that all discussed, I kind of want to deviate into this article right here that came out fairly recently. It's talking about the APUs coming out for 3rd gen. It looks like that AMD is doing a much bigger APU lineup than previous. In previous years, it was just the 22 and 2400G, but now they're offering a GE model as well as a Pro model. GE models apparently have a 35 watt TDP, while the Pros go full throttle. If this is all correct, then that's actually amazing to see, because it means that I can do office computer builds much cheaper. You have to realize that when it comes to APUs or even processors, that this wattage right here factors into the cost, because it means that you'll need a bigger power supply depending on what other parts are in the system. So if you can reduce the wattage from one part, then that helps you essentially downsize on other parts. I'm very interested to see where this goes. But yeah, for now, that's really all I have. I hope this helps. Thanks for listening.